Okay, so we're going to start out with a PA finger. We're going to start with the second digit on this. So we're going to use a small cassette. When you are finding your SID, you want to be 40 inches to the table. You can use a little measuring at the end of the tube, bring it down, and then just move your tube so that you are at 40 SID. So for this, like I said, a 10 by 12 cassette, I'm going to start with Libby's second digit, and I'll go through and show you for each of the digits because it is going to change a little bit when you get to the third through the fifth when we do an oblique and when we do a lateral. So we're just going to start with the PA projection. So I'll have Libby place her hand on the cassette. So you want to make sure that your patient's body part stays with the long axis of the film, so you can simply just move your tube for this, turn things around so that you stay nice and neat. So you do want to make sure that your central ray is right in the center of your film. I'm going to do the second digit, so your central ray is going to be at the PIP joint. Collimate down to the area of interest. Leave room for a marker, and then you just want to include the distal 1/3 of the metacarpal for this. We do need a marker. So I'm going to use a right marker, place it on the lateral aspect of my patient's hand. GP, go over your patient's lap, and then measure your part thickness. So you will measure right through where the PIP is. Give the appropriate technique, and for extremities, all you have to do is ask your patient to hold still and then click. So that would be for the second. For the third, for the fourth, and for the fifth. You're all just going to be at the PIP for that. Once you go down to the fifth, you can probably collimate up and down a little bit for this one. Okay. So then when we go on to do our oblique finger, when you do your second digit, you're going to do a medial oblique. When you do a medial oblique, what that does is that reduces the OID. So I'll have Libby curl up her fingers, and she's just going to place her finger in an oblique position for me. You want to be roughly at about a 45-degree oblique. You're still going to be centered to that MCP joint. I need to realign my long axis a little bit better here. Open my collimation back up so I'm getting that distal 1/3 of the metacarpal. And that would be your medial oblique for the second digit. When you go on to do the third through the fifth, you end up doing a lateral oblique. So for this, you guys are able to use a positioning sponge in order to help you out. So let's go ahead and do the third digit. Move my marker so it's not in the way. You can use the positioning sponge in order to help you. What you're trying to maintain is keeping the finger parallel to the IR for this, so it helps to hold the hand a little bit steady. You're still going to be centered over the PIP joint for the third digit. When you go on, you can do then the fourth. Kind of keep the fingers separated, centered over the fourth PIP joint. And then when you do the fifth, you would then just turn it. You end up with the least amount of OID. When you do that fifth digit, lateral, could probably collimate up and down a little bit. And that would be for your fifth. So all of those are how you oblique for the second through fifth. And then we're going to go on to do our lateral position for the fingers. So when you do the second digit, you're going to do a medial lateral again, so that we can reduce that OID. So have your patient curl up their fingers, and you're going to have them turn their hand into a lateral for you. I can open my collimation back up, marker, make sure the finger stays nice and lateral. GP, measure through your part thickness, and you'd say click. So then when you go on to the third through the fifth, you're actually going to be doing a lateral medial. So for this, when you do that, have your patient put thumbs up, and then we need her to curl her fingers. Now some people, when you do this, once you get to the second, the fourth, and the fifth digits, their fingers are going to want to automatically curl. So we'll move our marker out of the way. Use a sponge to help you with this. So I'm just going to have my patient help me out, and she's going to take her opposite hand and hold that finger nice and straight. Make sure that it's parallel to the IR. You're still going to be centered over the second PIP joint. You need your marker, GP, Measure only through your part thickness. You don't want to include all that airspace in between. Ask your patient to hold still. Click. And then if you were to do the fourth, it's going to be the same thing. Curl up the fingers. The fourth one is going to be harder. That one definitely wants to curl up, so make sure it stays parallel. And then if you were to go on, and then you could see for the fifth, rest right against the IR for that. You're still going to be centered at the PIP joint. Probably be able to collimate up and down a little bit for this. You still want to get the distal 1/3 of that metacarpal. Include your marker, GP, measure through the part thickness, ask your patient to hold still, and click.